Hey everybody, it's Jackie with Jackie's Recent Things. Today I'm going to show you how to make a super easy ornament door hanger. The ornament door hanger that I got is 20 inches by 23. I got it at a Hobby Lobby, 40% off of $12.99. So this is going to be super inexpensive as well. And it's going to make a really large statement. So let's get started. So I'm going to set that to the side. This is your Eva foam sheets. You can get these at Walmart. You can get them at Hobby Lobby. You can get them at Michael's. You can even order them online if you don't want to leave your house. To get the width that we need to go on our ornament, we're going to have to put two pieces together. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. And yes, mine's a glitter, but we're not going to worry about that because that's all I had. I'm going to tape them on the opposite side of what I'm going to use. Now, once we put our fabric on, our fabric will be what it holds together. Don't you hate it when you lose the starting point of your tape? I lost mine good. It went crooked, y'all. It's still crooked, but we'll straighten that out later. All right. Still a little gappy, and mine's not going to hold as well because of the glitter, y'all. I'll just let you know that's a fact up front. So I'm going to have to tape it on the other side whether I like it or not. And that'll still be okay. Because I'm just going to tack it in a few places on the other side. But at least that lets you know you can't use the glitter with the tape. All right. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to find out which way my ornament has to set and how tall I need it to be, because I don't want to waste fabric, and I don't want this part to be my fabric either. So just as a general guideline, I'm going to measure from the top of my ornament just above where the neck is, and that's going to be about 3.5 inches. So this is about 23 inches, so we'll cut the to 20 inches just to be safe. That way we don't end up with too much fabric waste, because we don't want that. So the first fabric that I've chosen, and I've actually chosen two, and the reason I chose this one is because it's a really busy print. So I want to make sure that it goes from top to bottom consistently. So this is just about 21 inches. Our ornament is 19 inches, so I'm going to cut this 20 inches wide. And the reason I'm going to cut it that wide is I'm leaving myself a little bit of grace, y'all. We don't want to waste, but we need a little bit of grace. And then this way, I'm going to go ahead and cut the excess off. And the reason I'm going to cut the excess off this way is because I don't want to get glue on the remainder of the good fabric by accident. So I'm going to cut this about 22 inches. And I might have went the wrong way with my, nope, we're good. I was like, wait a minute, I got the wrong way, no, we're good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull my fabric down just a smidge. And I'm just going to fold it up just a little bit. What I have for my glue, I really love this stuff because it dries in 5 minutes and it's for fabric, so you don't end up with that white showing through. And this is a Craft Bond, and this is the quick dry. There's all kinds of Craft Bond. If you can't find this one, there's other fabric glues that you can use. Like I said, I just prefer this one because it does dry quickly. There's some dried glue down in the lid of this. I'm gonna take this lid off, and we'll sort that out later. And I'm just gonna be really careful not to over squeeze this. So you can get these in bulk at Walmart. I have found that this paintbrush is actually the best one for smearing this stuff on. It's a 1 inch. You can find them over in the crafting section. And we're just going to make sure that you go from edge to edge. And I should have put down some parchment paper or wax paper. But apparently today is not Jackie's day. That happens, folks. So I'm just going to raise it up to keep it from getting on my cutting mat while I spread this out and make sure that it gets to the edges. And you don't need a thick coat of this. Remember, the thicker it is, the longer it'll take to dry. Plus, then it will seep through your fabric quite a bit and saturate it. Don't forget, it takes 5 minutes for this to dry, so you got to work as fast as possible to spread this out. So now I'm going to pull my fabric down and smooth it out. Now don't pull on it too much, because what happens when fabric gets wet, it'll stretch, so you don't want that. You just want to smooth it out without pulling on it, so don't pull on it. So I'm going to pull this back just a little bit, about to the point where I stopped, and just continue on with spreading the glue. And trust me, put the wax paper down. It definitely makes it quicker to hit your edges instead of having to be as careful as I am because I forgot the wax paper. Notice how I'm just gently doing that. Gentle as possible. You don't want to stretch your fabric. roll down a little bit more. If you get little bumps, that's what I'm getting. You'll have to pull your fabric back up to get them out. Alright, so now that we got that on, now I want to do a stripe across the top. So let me get the wax paper and show you the right way to do it in another bottle of glue. Shall we? Okay. So I want to do a stripe across my ornament right about here. So what I want to do is I want to determine how wide I want my stripes. So I'm going to lay my ruler down. This ruler is pretty handy because you can see through it and make a better decision about how wide you want your stripe. And because this is so large, I'm going to make mine 4 inches wide. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this 4.5 inches to give myself a little bit of room because I can cut the extra off. So for the stripe across the middle, I'm going to use Harlequin fabric. And when you're using French, you have to decide which way you want your fabric to run. I've got a scrap piece here. Yes, it's long enough, so we're just going to use that scrap piece. Now this is the reason that I was allowing myself a 1/2 inch is because Harlequin fabric, and I'm trying to see through it to cut it, y'all. Which may seem strange, but I'm trying to get my pattern to line up properly. is my goal. So that's the whole reason I left excess, and I'll do it again. Because when using a pattern, you need to give yourself a little bit of leniency and grace for mistakes. So this is the wax paper, which actually makes it putting the glue on easier. So what I'm trying to do is, because I cut straight edges, is I'm actually going to try to line my pattern up the best I can to make my start. So I just kind of just like fold this back, and then once again pull it back about where I stopped. I've got excess on my brush, so I'm going to use that first. And I'm just gently rubbing that down, y'all. No need to be forceful. Just be gentle. If you tug and pull on fabric, it will stretch. And I got a little too much, so I'm going to wipe it off to the side because I don't want it to be thick and saturated and take too long to dry. So the one thing I love about doing this is, like, I don't like to paint. And it would definitely take me far longer to get all this detail by painting. Painting is like pain and suffering for me. For those that can paint, rock on. I admire you. Now I'm going to set that to the side and dry. And then I do recommend, if you do this and you're not going to hop up and rinse your brush, take your wax paper and fold it up around your brush. And it'll actually sit there for hours waiting for you to be able to rinse it out. Alright, so let's come back to this little piece. And it's still a little damp, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and roll on. Now the reason I'm doing it like this is because we do have a straight up and down pattern on here. So I want to make sure that my pattern does run up and down the way that I want it to. And believe it or not, I'm going to take a permanent black marker and trace around this. And I'm actually going to scoot it up a little bit more. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with the neck piece. We don't want the neck piece. So I'm going to take my ruler and line up across there first to cut that off. So that's why I traced just a smidge of the neck piece. So now when I cut this out, when you trace something, it's actually larger than what you want to put it on. So that's why it didn't bother me to use black magic marker, because the best part is about the black magic marker, I can see it, so I can cut inside of it so it'll fit my piece better. So that's my whole goal, is to make sure all the black is gone and cut on the inside of that line. Because if you cut to the outside, then your piece is too big. So you definitely want to cut to the inside. Now, if you do use black permanent marker, be very careful, because if you leave it sitting in the same spot too long, it is a marker, it will bleed across the fabric. So now we have our ornament. See how nice that looks? So now I want to work on my stripe that goes across. So I'm going to be really, really picky about this because it is Harlequin. So I know I gave myself a 1/2 inch to work with. So what I want to do is I'm going to aim my ruler across the top of my points to make them line up as much as possible. Sometimes, y'all, they won't line up. I'm going to go down a little bit lower because that's almost all the allowance that I left. So the bad thing is, yes, about prints is sometimes they don't line up. So now we're going to see if it does. I'm going to line my edge up. And then measure my 4 inches, this is a straight edge now. And this is my 4 inches. We're going to see if it's straight. And we got lucky, y'all. It actually turned out straight. So now what I want to do is I need to cut the excess off to how my ornament's going to lay. And that's a little bit more difficult. So I'm using my mat to line this up straight. And once again, I'm going to take my black marker and we'll cut inside the line once again. Now at this point, you can actually use almost any kind of glue that you want to use to stick this on the board. You can use Elmer's glue, just don't get anything that's that you can wash off with water. You can use your hot glue, just be careful, make sure you get it smoothed out. So because I think some of y'all would probably use hot glue the most, that's what I'm going to use to show you how to do it with hot glue. So I'm just going to make sure that everything's lined up. So this would be like, so the foam is, it will melt if it's too hot, okay? But not this kind of foam. This kind of foam will actually kind of warp up a little bit, but it won't necessarily melt. It has to take a lot of heat before it really starts to just totally lose its shape. So if you don't have a low temp glue gun, just know you're going to be pretty well okay. But I'm still going to do this a little bit at a time because when I put the hot glue down, I want it to be thin because I don't want it to have lumps that are coming up through. So that way I can smush it down and smooth out the hot glue at the same time, because I want it to go toward the inside and squeeze out to the outer edge. But I don't want it to squeeze out here too bad. So I'm just kind of smushing it and pushing it a little bit to the outer edge. And then just kind of like we put our fabric down, kind of flip it out around and just slowly work our way down our piece. Kind of pick up where we left off. And of course, once again, hot glue sometimes cools pretty fast, so you got to work as fast as possible, especially when you have it on low temp. Now, the other reason I chose to use hot glue on mine is because of that glitter. I didn't want to take a chance on mine coming up because I have this glitter. Now, if you can't move that fast to do this, by all means, put your hot glue on high temp. If you can move faster than me, you definitely need to put it on high temp so you can lay out more as you go. So I'm being really careful to get close enough to the edge that I can push the hot glue out to the edge before it cools down. Now, if you decide to sell these or something like, sell these, this would definitely be something that I would make all of these first, cut them out, kind of thing, and then make an assembly line and put them on. This will be a nice, simple little project that you won't have much money in. By fabric and time and everything, by money, I've only got like 10 bucks in it by the time I put the ribbon on. That's the tape from the glitter side. We're just going to go ahead and take that off. Alright, so now I'm going to go back and check my outer edges. This one had some tape. So the tape got stuck down, but that didn't to the tape, so we'll stick it back to the tape. Anything that's loose on the outer edge, we're going to get it glued down, y'all. Okay, so now that we've got that down, now we need to put our centerpiece on. Isn't that sharp, y'all? Pretty sharp. And I did something wrong, it's not lining up. Nope. Let's get it to line up. There we go. I'm being ginger with this shell because I definitely don't want the hot glue to shoot all over the place. Even though I'm going to put trim, I still don't want it to shoot too far out. So I'm putting my gun pretty far underneath there at first, kind of going toward the middle, and then I'll work on the edge. Now, because I'm making such large lines, my glue is on high temp. Alright, so because my ornament is so large, it's got so much going on, I'm definitely going to use a solid trim. Let me grab that. What I have here is a black cording. You get it over in the upholstery fabric section at Hobby Lobby's. That's where you find it. This is not over in the trim section. This is over by the upholstery trim. Because I wanted a wider trim for this. And this one is $3.99 for 5 yards. Usually I pull my trigger up out of the way, and I'm going to put this on low. And I'm setting my trim out to the edge so that the fray and stuff will sit in the hot glue. So I'm going to cut my edge off there. And I'm being really thin with my hot glue so it won't come oozing out past my trim. I'm cutting that a little bit long for a reason, which we will get to in a minute. And I'm going to stick some tape on it. Don't worry, y'all, the tape will become irrelevant here in a minute. I keep forgetting I got my foot thing up on my hot glue. And then once again, we're going to cut this just a little bit long. every second. Now, instead of running out and getting more foam to cover this up, I'm just going to use what's left over. Nobody's really going to see this hanger anyway, but I just need to get it covered. Why not use some glitter? We'll make it a little bit shiny. And actually, when I'm sitting here getting ready to do this, we're going to do this a little bit of an easier way. I'm actually going to flip this over, and I'm going to use my box cutter, my sharp blade, to just slice around the excess and get it off there. Alright, so now we're ready to deal with our little ornament trim here. So the first thing I'm going to do to this one, because this stuff does ravel quite a bit, I'm going to dab a slight amount of hot glue on the end of this one to make my start point. Now, if you just so happen to have a lighter sitting around your shop, which actually it's a good idea to have one if you craft, believe it or not, you can cut these off and just burn the edges closed. So now we just want to trim out our piece and finish it up. Now I'm not going to go into the ornament, I'm actually going to go across it, and the reason I'm going to start here is because I know I'm going to put a bow on it. So I'm going to cover up my start and finish point. So I'm just being as thin as possible with my glue. And now I'm just going to go around the edge. I'm kind of going halfway down on the edge, that way the glue doesn't seep out to the top. And I'm doing a really thin bead of glue. So one of the most popular questions that y'all are going to ask me is, you're going to go, Jackie, how much will you sell this for? I would sell these for $45 to $55 all day long. we have it trimmed out, we need to spray it to protect it from outdoors. What I'm going to recommend that you spray it with is either one, you can spray it with Mod Podge. You can Mod Podge this, but I'm going to suggest something to you that's going to make this process a whole lot quicker for you and more hands off. What I have somewhere that disappeared, y'all, is a high gloss clear lacquer spray. And it's Rust-Oleum, and I got it at Lowe's. And I'm sitting here going, where did it go? But anyway, so that's what I'm going to use to spray it. Let me get it sprayed, find the can. When we come back, we'll make the bow and finish it up. Bye, y'all.